Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag, but I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since cavemen.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about the most important items in the barbecue and grilling world today. Maybe some have stuck around since last week or last month, for that matter. Hell, we were just talking about the Barbecue Hall of Fame for the first 2 segments in the first hour. If you've missed the first hour, as I mentioned on the way out, don't worry. We are recording for podcast audio. The video always archives immediately after the show ends on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. So if you'd like to watch the show for whatever reason, I don't. That's available immediately. Available immediately. If you like to break it up, if you like to use theater of the mind and listen to audio podcasts, which is how the vast majority of you take in the show, then the first hour will appear in the podcast feed tomorrow. Second hour will appear on Thursday, and I'll talk to you about Friday's podcast here in just a second. By the way, if you're wondering, because you've just stumbled across the show and you hear me talking about podcasts, and you don't know how to subscribe, or you don't have a podcast platform that you're particularly fond of or know anything about, if you go to the website, thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe, you'll have a whole different host. You'll have a whole host of options. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Cast. You can even subscribe to the podcast feed through email. All you have to do is put in your email. Then every time the podcast feed is updated through Blueberry, then you get sent an email letting you know that the latest episode in the podcast feed is there and ready for you to listen to. You click on it, it brings you to another link. You can play it right there in your mobile device's web browser if you want to. So if you don't want to deal with any podcast apps at all, you can subscribe through email. It's very simple. It's the way we do it. Still to come on the show this evening, Maciek Zurawski from Grillin With Dad, and Mike McCloud, the CEO and creator of the World Food Champions, also World Food Championships, also MMA Creative, the marketing firm that he is also the owner of. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. Tough with the words tonight. Video streaming platforms. Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. If you would rather take it in there. YouTube poll question of the week update. I'm asking you, what's your favorite barbecue sauce? Thick and sweet, thin and vinegary, mustard-based or mayo-based, and currently 46% of you are saying thick and sweet wins the day. 33% of you thin and vinegary, and 21%, that hasn't changed since Robert Moss, is saying that mustard-based, and wow, a big fat 0 for mayo-based. I wonder if Bobby T likes mayo-based.
Yeah, I'm Bobby T.
You're Bobby T?
Yeah, I'm Bobby T.
Hey, Bobby T, how are you? I'm sorry, your name again?
Yeah, I'm Bobby T.
Oh, Bobby T, great to have you. Well, I'm glad you are sitting in on the show tonight, Bobby T. And enjoy your mayo-based barbecue sauce. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 286, taking you back to June 18th of 2013. 10 years ago, almost to the day by the time we get to it. I'm going to tell you this. John Solberg, executive producer of the Best Moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes, and Michigan embedded correspondent, has outdone himself. For the first time ever, the Best Moments Show is going into a first-of-its-kind 4-part mini-series. And at this time in my life, at this interview, I had my sister Kate and her friend Lindsay in my studio. This is stretching all the way back to, this would have been right before we moved out of the Euclid house. So first house, first studio, they were there, and evidently it was good enough to get 4 separate shows. They will air in successive weeks, and in this particular one, Friday, you'll hear us talking about popular barbecue baby names. Unfortunately, like most of the old stuff, I have no recollection that this actually ever happened, which makes me sad, but also speaks to the sheer volume of content we've put out since 2006. So be sure to subscribe to that podcast feed so you can hear the first of a 4-part mini-series that John has doctored up here. And again, you can go to thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe and subscribe to the podcast feed. That way, don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or segment again that you think has been lost in the archives or the sheer volume of this show, email John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com and let him know what you think. As I had mentioned in the beginning of the show, I wanted to do a couple minutes here on Chuck Blount passing away. First and foremost, my discovery of Chuck Blount was not my discovery at all. In fact, it was longest-running embedded correspondent from the show, Doug Scheiding from Texas, who made the intro for me. Had been on me for quite a number of years, actually, to consider putting Chuck on the show as an additional Texas barbecue critic, aside from Daniel Vaughn. Chuck's tech savvy, at least as it relates to the show, was legendary. Two times. We had sound checked, and both times on the show, he had undone all of the setup we did the day before, so much so that he was talking into the wrong side of the microphone 2 different times. But we worked it out in the midst of the interview, and that third time he had it all worked out, no problems. But those first 2 times, challenging. I don't know how we went from having it all set up to completely undoing everything, but Chuck known to be doing that. And the first time on the show, we were building some talking points, and as he mentioned, he was a Howard Stern super fan. So at the end of our first segment, we played the game show, the Chuck Blount Superfan show of Howard Stern, and it sounded like this. Hey, I don't lose at games. I host games because I'm the host, Chuck. Now, we're going to play Is Chuck a real Howard Stern superfan? I've spent the last couple days digging to the minutia, talking to my secret friends that may or may not work there. No names, please. Chuck, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to give me the answer. Okay. And if you can get 3 out of 5 right, you will be the champion of this particular game show that nobody else is going to play. But because you build yourself as a super fan, we're going to put it to the test. Question 1.
Okay.
Who is widely considered to be the king of the whack pack?
Beetlejuice.
Yes. Chuck, in 1988, this comedian and voice actor worked alongside Jackie the Jokeman, tough one, until his departure in 1995. Who is it?
Oh, boy. Voice actor?
Yes. And comedian.
That's a tough one.
Howard Stern superfan. Chuck searching for an answer. Let's have it.
I don't know.
Well, you got to give me an answer. You can't say you don't know.
Sam Kinison.
Sam Kinison. Final answer. And, of course, that's wrong. Any superfan would know it is, of course, Billy West. That's right.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. Come on.
Superfan. Here we go. Question number 3. True or false, Howard Stern is a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment or the right to bear arms?
True.
Yes. Absolutely. All right, we got 2. This one for all the marbles. And you have a backup in case you piss it away.
What year did Howard Stern go from terrestrial radio to satellite radio?
Oh, man. Dude, that is a tough one. My Lord. Let's see. 2010?
2010. Final answer? Nope. 2006. Not that far off. All right.
Oh, man.
Chuck, we're right down here to the last question, which also happened in the first hour with Johnny Maggs.
That was an incredibly difficult question, by the way. That's not fair there, Mr. Greg.
I mean, Chuck, I'm not the one who billed myself as a Stern super fan, right? That's right. Now, last one. Tan Mom and Randy Barta teamed up to create the release mega hit dance hit Free to Be Me. True or false?
Tan Mom would do just about anything. I'm going to say true. Lock it in.
Unfortunately, that's technically false. A super fan would know what. It was not Randy Barta. It was Adam Barta. That, of course, is the way to go. All right. Well, not a super fan that much, I guess. But you did get Beetlejuice as King of the Whack Pack, and that's really all that counts. How about that? There's an introduction to Chuck Blount. I read an article on Chuck, and one of the things that was coming through with the person that was writing it was Chuck's ability to make assertions or mouths writing checks that bodies can't cash type of a thing. And he just harped on the fact that he was this huge Howard Stern super fan, and he got 2 of the 5 questions right, proving that he is indeed not a Howard Stern super fan, but he was very adamant about it. And that's the bit that sticks with me the most. Also, if you recall, and a fan of Chuck, smoked hamburgers were really big on the show. Chuck said it was going to be something that all of the menus down in Texas were going to be, barbecue restaurants were going to be putting on their menus because it was a good tasting thing. It was also good as far as profit margin. In subsequent appearances, when I'm saying, hey, it doesn't seem to be becoming a thing, he's doubling down. Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue, however, does or did maybe for a special time have a smoked burger on their menu. So it does appear to have been enjoyed thoroughly by the barbecue snob himself, Daniel Vaughn, when he was out there. So perhaps Chuck Blount is a bit of a forecaster, even further ahead than he thought he was. But as I had mentioned, I read a great article recounting Chuck's life on Sunday, and what I come to find out is the oddities and the intricacies that Chuck exhibited on the show when he was guesting were the same things that his coworkers and friends enjoyed and loved about him the most. Big on confidence, big on sarcasm, big on doubling down for things he believed in, and big on making sure the people around him were endlessly ridiculed and entertained at the same time. That's a unique trait, to be able to offend someone on purpose and then have them laughing and loving you 15 seconds later. And it appears Chuck was exactly that person. So while he was only on this show a few times, and he first appeared on this show in, I think it was April or May of 2022, so just over a year ago, the information, the opinions, and most importantly, the entertainment that he brought to the show was certainly appreciated. He leaves behind a wife and a teenage daughter, multiple accounts stating that Chuck succumbed to a very brief but aggressive illness that wasn't classified any further than that. And as Robert Moss said in the first hour, Chuck Blount, 47 years old. So remember, folks, there is one thing that I can guarantee for sure, and that's no one is getting out alive.
Get that big stuff out of here.
So if you are living with regret, or you're going to bed every night and saying to yourself, if I die tonight, am I going to be pissed? Am I going to regret something? Is there something that I need to set right? Then you need to figure that out. You need to make that right. I'm not talking about religion or nonsense like that. I'm talking about being a good human and checking in with yourself and saying, am I good if I die overnight? And if you're not, when you get up the next morning, if you get up, then work to make those changes so you can reconcile every night and know that if that happens, you're okay with. Does it suck? Yes. Does it suck Chuck is dead now? Of course. But I believe Chuck was probably living a as guilt-free of a life as he could probably lead. I don't know Chuck very well, of course, but he was at least giving me that vibe. And as I'm reading the articles that were eulogizing him through the San Antonio Express News, they seem to echo that sentiment. So, Chuck, we certainly hold one up to you one last time here on the show and appreciate everything you contributed, no doubt. That's Chuck Blount passing away at 47 years old. All right, we have Maciek ready to go from Grillin With Dad. Before we get to that, I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings, doing well in the backyards, doing well in the competition circuit, as we know. They own Granny's barbecue sauce, and they're selling cookers. So if you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. If you don't know what you need, call and ask questions, for crying out loud. 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We're back with Maciek right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we welcome you back here to the Barbecue Central Show. My first guest this evening has 426,000 Instagram followers, has 1.2 million followers on the Facebooks. So a media maven, yes, but an outdoor live fire proselytizer and somebody who is making business in the land of live fire. We're happy to welcome in for the first time, Maciek Zurawski. Hey, Maciek.
Hey, what's going on, Greg? How's it going?
I am very happy to see you here this evening and have you on for the first time. And it's my fault. I should have had you on at least 2 or 3 years ago. But like booking anything with the show, a great thought here. You put it to the side for 1 second, then it's gone. And finally,
just
we're,
like everything else.
Caught up. Absolutely.
Just like everything else.
Before we get going tonight, Maciek.
Thank you.
YouTube poll question of the week. I'm asking everybody that's watching. Favorite barbecue sauce? Thick and sweet, thin and vinegary, mustard-based, or mayo-based? Where does Grillin' with Dad sit?
Thick and sweet all day long, baby.
Right.
I like all the sauces, but if I were to pick just one, it's going to be thick and sweet.
46% of the voting public agree with Maciek. Thick and sweet is the way to go. Thin and vinegary weighing in with 33%, and mustard-based is 21%, and mayo-based is getting no love at all, unfortunately.
Oh,
so
wow.
0% of the voting public.
I do like a mayo-based sauce. I mean, they're good, but
that's more just for chicken, though, right?
Yeah. I only use it. I don't think I've ever had it with anything else, but it's delicious with smoked chicken.
I bet it would be good for brisket. I mean, I started the mayo as a binder on brisket phenomenon, so I mean, it would have to be good on beef, right? Why not?
I mean, worth trying, right?
I think that's your next video, probably, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Can't wait to see the comment section on that one.
Maciek Zurawski, great Italian name, of course. But for the folks who don't know, give us a little backstory about how you get to the States.
Yeah, so originally I am from Poland, so born and raised. We moved to the U.S. when I was about 10 years old, so back in around 91. And we've been in the Chicagoland area ever since. Lived in the city first, then moved out to the suburbs, but in this general area for the last 30 plus years. And it's been great.
So you come over at 10, and I don't know what the memory's like, but when you think back to that point in life, what kind of live fire options were there in Poland, or was there not even any?
Well, so live fire cooking is pretty big, and was pretty big and is still pretty big, but more like, like campfire style cooking and grilling. I remember, even going with my parents, we would go camping. There would always be a big fire, and, the dads would always grill or cook some meats. Usually it was pork. Pork is a really big protein in Poland. like fire roasted potatoes, some meats, things like that. So that was pretty popular, but not really big backyard barbecue scene except for like grilled sausages or some basics. So that was all new when we moved here, including barbecue sauce, which is why I mentioned thick and sweet because I fell in love with barbecue sauce like immediately after we came here. I'm like, what is this deliciousness? How where has this been all my life?
Do you get back to Poland a lot?
But last time that I went was about 10 years ago.
Oh.
So it's been a while. I do want to go back. I have some extended family that still lives there, just to show my kids to and visit because it's a different place than it was obviously even 10 years ago. So
when you get here, I assume you're speaking Polish, of course. I mean, you're living there, right? When you get here, now you have to, and maybe you were already assimilating the English language before you even got here. I don't know, but do your parents make you speak Polish in the house at least to keep up the native tongue?
Well, so my parents didn't know a word of English when we came here. I knew a little bit. I could understand some, but very little. So we lived in a Polish neighborhood where you really didn't need to know English, because there were Polish stores, Polish newspapers. You could get everything done without any English. So we always spoke, and even to this day, we speak Polish in the house. They obviously speak English now, but to them, Polish is still, their language. And yeah.
So let's spool it up to the new generation. You have young kids.
Mm-hmm.
You teach them Polish too, or is it like, you're in America now, forget it?
Yeah, so we did. So my wife is Polish too, which makes things a little bit easier. So we try to speak Polish at the house. We spoke only Polish to my kids when they were little, but when they started school, started watching, YouTube, the iPads, the games, hanging out with their friends, it's they understand everything that we say to them in Polish, but they don't really speak it back to us. So I'll say something in Polish and they'll answer back in English.
Do they have any accent at all? So you have like a mild Polish accent.
No.
I assume your parents
Yeah.
have very heavy, but it's I would imagine it's waning as they get younger.
No accent whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
No accent with my kids. Yeah, they're just like super fluent in it. And yeah, so I'd like for them to know. I mean, I'm not going to force them to speak Polish if they don't want to, but it'd be nice for them to at least know some of it, so even when we go to visit, they can understand or, it's still a part of their history and their heritage. So it'd be nice for them to know it a little bit.
When you get through high school here in the States, you go to college or you just get a job right out of high school?
Yeah, so we did. I went to University of Illinois in Chicago, so another local school here in Chicago. Went to college, got my degree, got a good office job, like a regular 9 to 5 after school, and that was my career path.
What were you doing?
I was on that path for about, 10 years maybe.
Huh.
Before this whole social media thing kind of took over and, took the leap.
What kind of job or career were you in?
So my background is in finance. I have a degree in economics, and then I worked in banking, financial institutions, but all, kind of finance related.
When did
Not
you become
cooking at all.
When did you become a fan of barbecue?
So I've been a fan since I was a little kid, since we moved here. Like I said, when I had my first kind of bite of American barbecue, of even, American barbecue sauce, I'm like, this is terrific. And then after I moved out of my house, we moved in with my girlfriend at the time. We would cook and grill all the time. I loved cooking outside, being outside by the grill. First, it was a little gas grill. Then I got a little Weber charcoal grill, a little kettle. Just doing chicken, steaks, but real basic stuff. But I've always really liked it. Just the flavor, that smokiness, and just being outside, cooking.
As the story's told, in 2017, your wife gets you a big green egg for Father's Day or something along these lines. Was she blindly shooting in the dark and saying big green egg for you, or were you hinting around that that's a cooker you would like to get?
I've been hinting at it. So for maybe the 2 years prior to that, I was following some other barbecue accounts on Instagram, some of these cooking guys, and I would always see this big green egg grill. Everybody was saying, this is the go-to kind of versatile cooker. You can grill, you can smoke, like if you're going to get one grill, that's what you get. So we would talk about it at the house, but, the grill was a total surprise. I had no idea she was going to get it. The delivery truck showed up with this grill, and I'm like, holy cow, this is so cool. And just on a whim, that's how I decided to start the Instagram page, to more so to learn how to use this new cooker, get some new recipes, figure out, how to use this thing, and just kind of document my journey as I go.
You've been associated with Big Green Egg ever since I've started to follow you. So how do you put a business relationship together with them? Do they reach out to you, or do you reach out to them?
Yeah, so what happens, at least my experience has been, as my Instagram page grew, as you gain more followers, businesses eventually start to reach out. At first, they would reach out and say, hey, can we send you maybe some barbecue seasoning or a sauce or some grilling tool or some meat, try it out, maybe make a video with it. And then as the page continues to grow, then, eventually it turns from free products to, hey, maybe we can pay you some money to include us in your videos or do a review of our products or whatever the case might be. And it just kind of goes and grows from there. Big Green Egg reached out to me. It's been a couple of years ago. I think just with some free products initially. And then we just kind of grew the relationship over the last few years.
I want to stick to my outline. However, you bring up a point here that has always been a lingering hot button with me, and it's the arc here is knowing your value. When they reach out to you and say, hey, we want to give you some rub, or hey, we want to give you some charcoal, it's exciting, right? You have something cooking, and you feel pretty good, and of course you want to say yes. But is that where folks, especially now who want to be these influencers or media mavens, what have you, is the problem or the issue up front? Maybe this is an issue that we have to look back 10 years ago when this thing was really getting going and people were just taking free shit to take free shit. But we can't deal with that now, right? It's 2023 and this is where we're at. So if you really want to do it right, should you be demanding up front now as they're contacting you that, sure, you can send me some free stuff, but also you're going to be parting with some of that cash and start building value that way?
Yeah, I think it's definitely challenging because, at least in my experience, with the first time when somebody reached out, even with free product, like, it just blew my mind. I'm like, holy crap, I can get like this for free. Like, I was going to buy it and now they're giving it to me. Like, yeah, hell yeah, man, send a case of it or however much, so that initial excitement, you're just excited that somebody's acknowledging what you're doing. It's a business, they're providing a product that you want to use. So you don't even think about money. Like, when I started my page, I had no intention of this, that I would even be able to make money on this stuff. I'm like, it's a little hobby. I cook, and then once I think the first business that offered me money, I'm like, holy crap, I can actually get paid for doing this stuff. And then, my mentality changed. I'm like, you know what, that's actually a good point because I put a lot of time and effort into this. So why shouldn't I be paid to promote someone else's product? Well, they make their money and I get, a bottle of sauce in exchange for that. So
yeah, easy for them to do, right?
yeah. So, but it's, but it is challenging because, and I, to this day too, like, it's not to say any product that I use, I get paid for. Like, some stuff I'll do in exchange for product, or if it's like a smaller company or something that I legitimately just like to use, I'm not going to just not use it because somebody's not paying me. But it's a balance, right? You got to figure out which way you want to go and just kind of move forward.
When I met you last year in person at the Hartville Hardware Grill Fest, we talked about doing Grillin With Dad as a full-time job. In fact, you also mentioned that your wife was in on the business as well. I'm interested to know, back before you make the jump, what kind of conversations are you and your wife having, in the secret late night hours, going, geez, should we take Grillin With Dad to the next level? Do I do it full time and leave a day job? And that's got to be pretty nerve-wracking. What are those conversations that you have?
It was very nerve-wracking. So it got to the point for me where I was doing daily videos, daily recipes, and having a full-time job, 2 kids at home, a wife, and then doing this cooking stuff. It got to the point where it was just too much. I was getting burnt out, and I realized that there was more potential with the Grilling With Dad, with the social media side of it, than my day job. But the money really wasn't quite there yet. Even before that, I was thinking, maybe once I make as much as I make in my day job, I'll quit my day job because this will equal that, right? But it never got to that point while I had the day job because it's just not enough time to do all the stuff that you want to do. So we started talking about the possibility of going full time and kind of approaching this more like a business where you kind of have a better plan in place, more of a structure with what kind of content we're going to put out, how often we're going to put it out. And, but it is a leap of faith, because you go from a steady paycheck every 2 weeks, benefits to this unknown. I'm 40 years old making Instagram videos for a living. I have a mortgage, a car payment. And, when people ask what I do, I'm like, oh, I make Instagram videos. They're like, what? But no, but really. So it's, even in my head, when I say it now, it sounds, wild to me, but it kind of got to the point where it was either that or just kind of, doing the day job and not really doing much anything else. So
I've long been a believer in trying to make all the money. So it sounds like in your, so what I mean by that is I have a day job, sell Peterbilt trucks for Peterbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Done that for 7 or 8 years. I've been doing this show in some form or fashion for the last 17 years. And I've always been able to delineate and have a working process where one never competes with the other, nor should one ever compete with the other. So I don't do that. And I'm able to, work some sponsorship stuff with this show, and that's nice. But I've also never had a burning desire to do this as a full-time job because I feel it would suck all the fun out of it for me. For me, I'm just talking for me. Other people, you do it and you have a vision on how that's going to be better. But for me, whatever money I'm getting here is cool. I want to make as much money as I can here, but I also want to make as much money as I can at the day job. So it works out for me. But it sounds like you weren't going to be able to get to the point of satisfaction in order to do both for you. You had to pick one or the other.
Yeah, I was basically doing too much for too long where I was like, either one's got to give, I can't continue with the day job with the kind of the kids, the wife, and the cooking and the videos and how much content I was putting out for much longer. And that was also my worry. I was thinking, well, what if I go full time with it? Will it still be fun after a couple months? Right now I'm cooking after work. I'm not stressed if I get a sponsor deal or not because I've got my day job that pays the bills. But if I go full time, then it's no longer fun because now this is kind of the day job, right? But it never got to the point. I kind of, I went full time with it and everything just almost overnight improved quality wise, content wise, money wise. It just continued to grow, and that continued to kind of motivate me to keep going even further with it.
So continuing on with the business talk here, you recently open up some products available for sale, Grillin With Dad. And the first thing that I saw hit was the Grillin With Dad rub. So how long has that been in the works? And if somebody's interested in trying it out, what kind of flavor profile are you offering?
Yeah, so that was in the works for I would say a good 6 to 8 months. Even before that, people would always reach out and say, hey, you should do your own rubs. And I was a little hesitant at first because there's just so many products out there, so many good ones to pick from. But I just kind of figured, what, people are asking for it, might as well do it, and we'll see how it goes. So we kind of developed our formula. And the hardest part really was to find a good co-packer to make this for us, to kind of not have crazy minimum order requirements where I need to order a truck full of it, because it's just me shipping this from my garage. But once we found a place, developed the formula, put it into play, it's been going really great. It went live about a month ago. We ship directly on the website. The flavor profile is kind of like a traditional barbecue chip flavor. That's kind of what we went for. Something that's really good on all proteins, on veggies, grilled, cooked inside in the oven. However you cook, it's going to be a good kind of well-rounded all-purpose barbecue seasoning. We ship most of the sales are directly from our website, grillinwithdad.com, and we are starting to get a little bit more store retail availability that's been expanding. So we'll see how it goes. We have 2 more rubs in the works, a steak seasoning and a taco rub that'll be out next month. And it's been fun kind of doing this whole, seasoning part of it too now.
What would be the goal of rubs to be part of the revenue stream? Would you like to see that generate $500,000 in the next 3 or 4 years, or $1 million, or what?
Yeah, you know what? It's not. When we launched this first rub, I didn't know what to expect sales wise. Like, would people actually buy it? Besides that kind of initial, excitement for a new product, would it continue to sell? And surprisingly, it's been going really well over the last month. So the goal is to definitely continue growing it and, get into that 7-figure sale income, over the next maybe year or two, once we develop more rubs and get into sauces. I do want to do a sauce. Like, I love barbecue sauce, so we'll see.
I mean, I don't want to shit on your parade, Maciek, but holy crap, there's a lot of rubs and sauces out there in the market these days. How do you stay above the noise? Like, what's the strategy there?
See, like, the way that I look at it is the rubs and the sauce. Like, I already have an avenue to market and advertise those products via my social channels. So anytime that I use it in my video that gets, a ton of views, I see an instant bump in sales. So, I stay relevant by including it in my videos, in my content, talking about it. Do a lot of demos and local events, little pop-ups. So it's just kind of taking it, taking that route and using the social media platforms as much as we can to promote it and and sell it.
So a couple of the rubs and a sauce coming down the pike here shortly. Where do you see Maciek and Grillin with Dad in the next 10 years?
So definitely expand the rub and sauce offering. I do want to get into grilling and barbecue tools. Have like spatulas, tongs, mopping tools, whatever things that I use. Not so much that just to have products, but I find that a lot of stuff that I use at the house is just quality-wise, it just breaks, falls apart quickly. So I'd rather get a nice, well-made grilling tools that people can use, have that be available, and just kind of a slew of products that relate to live fire cooking, grilling, mostly at the house, in your backyard, where you can get Grillin with Dad products to improve your cooking and grilling experience.
Do we have confirmation that the third Saturday in September, there will be a return visit to the metropolis, Hartville, Ohio, to the Grill Fest 2023? You going to be there?
Yeah, that's the plan. It was a great time last year. It was, I didn't know what to expect at this ginormous Hartville hardware store, which kind of blew my mind. But
I tell people there's a home inside of the hardware store, and people look at me like I'm an idiot. But for real, there's a real ass home in there, isn't there?
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. And they're actually a dealer now of Grillin with Dad rubs. So you can pick your rubs at Hartville.
All right. So if you're going to be around the area in September, come down and see me and Maciek and Diva Q and Mike Lang to do live demos. I'll be emceeing as well. And this was great first visit, Maciek. Appreciate your time here this evening. Let's do it again sooner than later.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
You got it. There he is. Maciek Zurawski, Grillin with Dad, and of course the website grillinwithdad.com. Instagram is Grillin _with_dad, and Facebook, of course, /Grillin with Dad. 1.2 million followers over there on the Facebooks. Wow. All right, Mike McCloud is ready to go from World Food Championships and MMA Creative. We'll be back with him in just 1 second. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Maciek Zurawski from Grillin with Dad for the visit last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional. It's definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Closing the show tonight, the creator of the World Food Championships and the CEO of MMA Creative, longtime friend of this show, and I am happy to welcome back Mike McCloud. Mike, before we get into nonsense and shenanigans here this evening, I'm going to ask you the YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking tonight, which is your favorite barbecue sauce is thick and sweet, thin and vinegary, mustard-based, or mayo-based. Where are you at?
Mustard-based.
Really? Wow. You are with 18% of the voting public as mustard-based being their favorite. Thin and vinegary is just above that at 36%, and thick and sweet is taking the day at 46%. So we appreciate your input on that.
Well, 10 years ago, it would have been thick and sweet. But I think I had so much of that I needed to switch.
Yeah, I've just never been into sweet anything. I'm not a big candy guy in any form or fashion. So having an overly sweet barbecue sauce, except like on pork, I'll trend a little bit more sweet. But I've always been more of a fan of the vinegar based stuff, and I like mustard. Not a big fan of mayo stuff, but yeah, I'm a big vinegar guy.
I like the white sauce out of Alabama, but the mustard Carolina profile has captured my taste buds for the last 2 or 3 years.
Before we get into the barbecue series being put on, joint venture there with World Food and Famous Dave's, let's quickly talk about the final table results of World Food Championships. You go back to a venue that you're pretty familiar with, one that's already had a champion crowned within its confines. And the winner this year is John McFadden from Australia. So my question to you is this the first international food champ that we've had in our midst?
It is.
Wow.
Chef John was amazing, not only in Dallas, but in Bentonville at the final table. His nickname is going to become the Machine, I believe. He was absolutely on point every second, performed every aspect of his cook, had no sous chefs, and delivered impeccably every step of the way. He was very impressive, and he's going to be a great champion for us.
How do the finals work for the folks that don't know specifically about that? How does that operate?
So it's really unusual in that it's the second half of the gauntlet that I call it. You have to, in the World Food Championships process, you have to earn your way in. You have to win a signature build. You have to win an infusion build. So you have to win 3 challenges to become a champion of a category. And then you get to go to the final table where we design 3 challenges that are very locally based to the community or the location that we're located in. And usually that is a local favorite ingredient, and then it's a local popular dish, and then it's a menu challenge. So the culinary gauntlet is 6 complete challenges, and it proves to us who the best cook is. It doesn't focus on can you make the best dessert, or can you make the best rib, or can you make the best chicken thigh or chicken wing, whatever it is. We put you through 6 complete unique challenges, and you have to excel at all of them. So at the end of the day, we know that our world champion is an incredible cook and can take on incredible challenges and enter into hopefully a new career, new opportunities, new gigs, and represent us, but themselves as well. So it's really an incredible challenge for anyone, home cook, professional chef, competition cook, whatever you are. It's an opportunity for you to prove that you're incredible at what you do and at what we say you should be incredible at. So we stand behind them, and they stand behind us after it's all said and done.
You've never known me to ask softball questions, Mike, so why start now? Tell me why having the gap between these 2 events makes sense and doesn't cause a loss in momentum. And when I say 2 events, for the folks that don't know, I'm talking about the World Food Championships in itself, which takes place towards the end of the year last year in Dallas. And then we have from there until, was it last week or the week before, when the final table actually happened. So, there's a number of months gap in between those 2 events.
So it's a great question, because it's not always been that way, and it may not always be that way. But right now, the way we look at it is we spend an incredible amount of time designing and creating the actual event around the World Food Championships in November. And it takes us 5 or 6 days to get through what we call the prelims and to get to the 10 category champions. So to do another 2 or 3 days on top of that is very challenging, not only for our staff, but it's challenging for someone who enters into the competition and wants to stay and become the ultimate champion, right? Become the World Food Champion 8 days, 9 days later. So when we decided to separate it, there were two prevailing thoughts. One was, let's give these 10 champions of our 10 categories a promotional period of time that we can build up their success and talk about their victory and promote them in their communities and nationally. And then give them a chance to prepare for a final challenge that would earn them $100,000. So the third thing that later on top of that was TV. You know, we've learned after being on about 8 different TV shows that it's really hard to pick a winner. TV likes to pick a winner. They like to follow a character. Yeah. They like to develop a storyline behind someone. Well, it's hard to do that when you start out with 400 teams, right? Who's going to win? Yeah. Who's going to be the person that we should build a story around? So, for us, we realized that when you narrow it down to 10 teams and you can build challenges around those 10 teams in a final table, then that's a lot more TV centric and a lot more TV friendly. So that was the third and final thought to separating the final table from the main event.
Where do you see World Food Championships this coming year? Still going to be in Dallas? Do you still have another year there, or are you out of there?
Yes, we're still in Dallas for the main event. The final table may be in a different location. We've got a couple options on that front, and we're trying to make the best decision for the overall platform. So we are trying to do what's right for food sport. We've got a couple really, really big announcements about to happen. So stay tuned for that.
748 years ago, Mike, there was something called the Sam's Club Barbecue Tour, a revered series by pretty much all the competition cooks in KCBS. And the finals of that event was widely considered to be a major, like the Jack or the Royal, etc. Mm-hmm. And then it went away, and there's really been nothing to come in and take its place until this year. Tell me how this Famous Dave's and World Food Championship partnership came to be with this new barbecue series.
So you're right. I mean, the Sam's Club series, which ran for 7 years, was, I think, one of the premier developments in barbecue in probably 20 years. And we were lucky to be a part of it. We designed it, we operated it, and we worked as the liaison between KCBS and Sam's Club on that. And I'm actually encouraged by recent conversations with our friends at Sam's Club that there could be a possible comeback on that tour. I'm actually in some conversations that are delving into how that worked and how it might work again if we were to restart it. But in the meantime, the folks at Famous Dave's of America they're seeing the thing that we talked about during those years as the connection to the whole competitive industry and the passion that exists in this industry. And they've green-lighted this series that we just started about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the Famous Dave's All-Star Barbecue Series, and it's smaller, but it's very unique and it's very intimate. and it works in the same way. But right now, as soon as you win a local Famous Dave's competition, you springboard into the World Food Championship. So they are currently our unique and exclusive entry into the barbecue industry, into the barbecue category of WFC. So
that's the only way you can get in to barbecue now, is you have to win a Sam's local or a Famous Dave's local.
It's the only way for a new team to get in. If a team performed well in the previous year, we have some grandfather clauses that allow them to get in if they were in a top 10 of the previous year of WFC. So, but for the most part, yes, it's the only way for them to get in, unless you're in a preferred qualifier barbecue situation, and there's not many of those out there. So, right now, it is our preferred partner, preferred strategy to get in, and 3 events into 15 events that we're going to do, we are extremely satisfied and extremely happy with not only how the events are working, but how Famous Dave's and their staff is supporting competition barbecue and how they're investing in it. They're putting $5,000 at every contest into play, and we limit the teams to 6 teams. So there's a great chance if you know what you're doing, that you're going to take home some money from one of the Famous Dave's contests. So we love what we're seeing. We love the enthusiasm and the passion from Famous Dave's, and we believe it's going to be a very significant element to the World Food Championships and to the barbecue category in particular.
How are the teams picked? If you're only taking 6 total, I'm sure there were more than 6 applying.
There's about 3 different parameters. One of those being first come, first serve. The other being geocentric. The third being quality of team. So we look at all those aspects, and then we confirm with the teams that have applied for a particular competition, and send them a confirmation that says you're in, and we'd love to see you at the local Famous Dave's, wherever that is.
As far or as long as I've known you, Mike, and just a quick fun fact here, the first time you were on the show was May 10th of 2010, if you can believe it or not, so a long time to be sure. I've known you to always be a strategic and a strategic thinker, as much focused on the future as to even what's happening here present day. So best case scenario, how do you see this specific tour unfolding, let's say, over the next 3 to 5 years? And now, of course, I have to caveat by saying, holding that Sam's Club thing you kind of just hand grenaded on all of us there at the top. Hold that off to the side. But how do you see this unfolding over the next 3 or 5 years?
So in a perfect world, I would see the Famous Dave series being a strategic gateway into WFC, and there being 25 teams from 25 different contests earning their way into our championship. And then perhaps there being a championship at Famous Dave's, that it becomes an actual Famous Dave's Premier League, if you will. If the Sam's Club strategy comes back into play, I think that becomes a 2-tier system where you have maybe another 5 or 10 teams that come through a Super Series on top of the Famous Dave's programs. And I think, Sam's Club, when we operated, there was $500,000 prize purse involved. So in and of itself, it becomes a major at the headquarters of Sam's Club, and maybe there's 5 or 10 winners from that event that moves over into the World Food Championships as well. So I think both of them can coexist. I think for Famous Dave's of America, they have a unique opportunity to develop menu opportunities. Right now, we're working with Curveball Whiskey, which has come into the barbecue arena in a big way, and Famous Dave's is serving up Curveball whiskey glazed chicken wings through our events, and Curveball whiskey mules, which are very tasty drinks. All of these things can lead to on the menu opportunities, and it's different than what can happen at Sam's Club. Sam's Club can actually lead to a product that's on the shelf, right? That's there year in and year out. Obviously, or it becomes just a major in and of itself with a lot of money. So I believe there's space for both. I'm going to continue working to bring Sam's Club back to the mix in barbecue. I think barbecue needs it right now. And I think that the Famous Dave's getting local strategy makes a lot of sense, because it brings out local competitors, but also brings the celebrity into the mix, and it gives people an opportunity to come celebrate barbecue the way Dave Anderson did in the very beginning when he began the restaurant. You know, he was a barbecue competitor, and he put a lot of pride in being able to win barbecue contests and sauces and things of that nature. So I think both of them have a place in this industry.
The Famous Dave's event is being judged through EAT methodology, I would assume.
Yeah, so we're trying to think beyond the box. I've been a great advocate for competition barbecue for many years, and I believe there's a place for the way it's done, but I also believe that barbecue can be beautiful, and it can be more compelling, and it can breathe beyond the parameters of what a barbecue judge thinks is great barbecue. And the one distinctive difference that we've built into the Famous Dave's program is that the EAT methodology, which is built on a concept that a cook is making something for you and creating a contract between what I believe is great barbecue and what you should judge it against, is different than what currently exists. And so far, the teams that have excelled in the Famous Dave's program have loved it. And as someone who loves recently blackberry chipotle ribs, which you wouldn't be able to taste at a typical
no, that would get you like a 4, right, in scoring.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's so far out of bounds, right? Yeah. But in our system, we tell the judges this is blackberry chipotle ribs, and the judges have to discern is did the cook create what they said they created, and it's beautiful. The winner of our very first contest, the grand champion of our very first contest in Las Vegas, for their wild card, it cooked lamb chops, and they were just phenomenal. And the grand champion of the one that we just did in Hermitage, Tennessee, created a smoked pecan caramel cheesecake as their wild card entry. So, I love barbecue. I love ribs. I love chicken. I love pork. I love brisket. I love all those things, but I also love a little variety. And when a team tells me this is the best Wagyu you've ever put in your mouth, I enjoy the thrill of trying to judge that and trying to score that Wagyu, because it's more than just meat in a box. It's a compelling dish based on what that particular team thinks their strength is, and so far so good. That's what we're seeing at each one of the Famous Dave's contests. We've done 3. We've got 12 more to go. We're going to see a lot of variety, and in addition to all that, all the teams are willing to create flavored chicken wings for the public, sample out 200 chicken wings per team, make sure that there's some kind of engagement for the consumer, which is important. I think, in the whole barbecue industry. So those things, in my opinion, make it a winning solution, not only for the industry, but for the sponsor of the industry.
I assume the Sam's Club mention is going to pick up momentum here over the next couple days as this podcast get released out. And, did you hear this? Did you hear that? Is this going to be associated with any sanctioning body, or is this also going to fall under the EAT methodology judging? Just so we can kill anything right off the top.
Everything that I touch right now is going to involve the EAT methodology. It is a platform that we believe in. It's a platform that we're building. It's a platform that's going to put a lot of money in the pockets of people who want to participate. We don't expect, and we don't. We're not trying to cajole people to do us versus something else, but we are going to build the biggest, baddest, most influential food sport category that exists. And for those teams who want to participate, we welcome them. And for those who don't, we wish them good luck in all of the adventures they take on. We have numerous developments and announcements that are going to occur over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and we hope everyone's paying attention.
Notice has been served by Mike McCloud there, the creator of World Food Championships. So obviously over the next 6, 7, or 8 weeks, there's most likely a chance you'll see Mike back on this show talking about some of the stuff that'll be unveiled. And if you're going to be in the Long Beach area this coming weekend, right, you can check out that Famous Dave's event that's going to be taking place there this coming Saturday. So Mike, always appreciate the time and the insight as always, and we'll look forward to doing it again soon.
Greg, always a pleasure. Apologies for the Wi-Fi connections, but thanks for your patience and thanks for everything you do.
You got it. Appreciate you. It's Mike McCloud right there at the World Food Championships. WorldFoodChampionship.com, the website, or you can go to famousdave.com/All-Star BBQ Series. Long Beach this coming weekend. And then if you go to that website, famousdaves.com/All-Star Barbecue Series, you can see where the subsequent events are going to be as well. And it's all running all the way through near the end of August, so a number of weeks left. If you're interested in competing, there still might be some openings. So you heard how they pick teams, but give it a shot first and see what's open, and then take part. Sounds like a great time. And if you're a consumer or somebody that likes to see some live fire competition taking place, get out to Long Beach this coming weekend. Why not? All the way back in the first hour, we started off with Dave Raymond, Sweet Baby Ray, talking about the history of the sauce and where he's at present day and what it means getting into the Barbecue Hall of Fame this year. Then we had Robert Moss in his monthly segment. Second hour, Maciek Zurawski, Grillin With Dad founder, talking about the background on him, how he got into barbecue, how the whole Grillin With Dad thing started, and then making it a full-time job. He's got a rub out, 2 more rubs coming, the sauce is coming out as well, and looking forward to seeing him again in person in September, but we might have him on before then, why not? And then closing out the show, of course, Mike McCloud from World Food Championships, talking about the barbecue series that's currently going on in conjunction with World Food Championships and Famous Dave's, and that, he dropped the bombshell right there at the end. Sam's Club could be getting a reboot with EAT methodology. Anything he touches will have EAT methodology going forward. So other people are like, oh no, it's not the same. I want to extend the skill set a little bit. Why not? Reward creativity. That's what we're always talking about. Big show planned for you next week. Who do we have? We got Bad Byron coming on. We have Daniel Vaughn from Texas Muncie. Mac Plummer, owner of Loco Flat Tops in West Wright, and his monthly appearance. So jam-packed show as always. How do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe saying bye-bye.
Chris Payne from Euclid, Ohio, and you are listening to Barbecue Central.